Okay.
We live?
We are live.
Awesome. Hello everyone. Hello. We're a day early in comparison to normal. Due to the fact that Andy's going on a bit of a jolly, so yeah, should be good. So we're doing something a bit different this week. We're going to do an Ask Me Everything, anything. Sorry, not Ask Me
Or everything.
Or everything. You can ask us anything and everything. So we've had some questions submitted. If you're watching this and you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments for the live video, and we'll try and jump on them while we're on the video. If not, drop some comments in after the video, and we can always answer it afterwards as well.
Sure. You don't sound very excited about this, Kieran.
I'm really excited. Sorry.
Come on, we'll give it a go, man. We'll give it a go. All right, cool. So, let's talk about the first question that was asked by Sven. I'm going to ask a question. Kieran's going to answer this one. So Sven said, all my on-site SEO experience is on Yoast with WordPress sites. And this is common for a lot of people, right? So my question is, what are the key things to start with a pure HTML site? He said actually he's going to be using HTML, Bootstrap and CSS. So yeah, what are the key things that they need to think about when they're not using a plugin like Yoast, which helps them do a lot of stuff?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's what we kind of talk about quite a lot in the audits that we do. So page titles, H1s, meta robots tags, which in platforms like Yoast, a lot of the time they tend to be handled automatically by the plugin. And obviously if you're moving to just a standard static HTML website, you basically won't see any of that information.
You tell us the way around. It's supposed to do it without facing the window.
No! Wait a minute, guys. You can't turn your phone while recording. Okay, interesting. Here we go. Kieran, take your head out of your hands, it's fine.
So this is what happens when you let Andy Allen set up the Facebook Live with his phone.
At least you couldn't see Kieran's depressed face.
So, yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, you are going to need to focus on your main stuff like your title tags, your H1s, your stuff like your meta robots tags. Also, if you're moving from a WordPress site to a static HTML site, and I don't know if that's the case within here, but if you are moving from one to the other, obviously URL structures are all going to change as well, so you're going to need to make sure that internal linking sorted and redirects as well. I'd say is the most part. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I guess if you're working with a developer, just make sure that they know how to implement all of those different elements. It's really simple. There's lots of things online that will tell you how to implement a page title to hard code it into the HTML. Some of the more advanced things like a robot's no index is a bit more trickier, but it's still pretty much a simple line of code.
Yeah.
So yeah, just get them to look into it. And yeah, if you have any problems at all, just let us know.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
So the next question was supplied by Sophie. How important are image alts for SEO? What's your advice?
Okay, so if you don't know what an image alt is, it's essentially a descriptive piece of text that sits behind an image within the code of the website. So you might have a picture of a dog, for example, right? And then as your image alt, you might put this is a dog. And the idea of them originally is so that they can provide information if the image doesn't load. So that could be, for instance, the web page doesn't load the image, or perhaps someone's site, they can't actually see the image, so they actually need to know a description of it. People used to use the image alts for SEO purposes, so they would just keyword spam it. So they'd be like, right, I want to rank for dog, so I'm going to have loads of images, I'm just going to put dog in the image alt. And because of that, the weight and the value that image alts have in SEO has been downgraded. You know, they don't have the impact they used to have. However, they are still quite important. I would definitely still add them. Because they help to describe the image, and so if it doesn't load, or if there's someone that's hard at their site, then they can actually tell what the image is.
Yeah.
I suppose another important thing to mention as well is that Google now can crawl an image and tell what it is. There is an API. There might even be a website where you can go and you can put in your image, and it will tell you what the image is about, and it's crazy how accurate it is.
Yeah.
So Google are more likely now not looking at image alts to see if the image of a dog is actually a dog. What they'll do is their technology, their crawlers, their AI will be looking at it and go, that's a dog.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that, and then on the other hand as well, someone could potentially put up a nice image of a house and give it an alt tag of a dog,
Yep.
so that they can gain their SEO benefit from it. So Google's gonna then know that there's something that doesn't match up there.
Yeah, and people get it wrong all the time, so they might copy and paste images and they forget about the old. So I don't think it's the most reliable metric for Google to use, hence why they've moved to a much more reliable way of just being able to look at the image and tell what it is. So this is key, right? So if you are trying to rank for dogs, make sure you've got lots of pictures of dogs that are actually dogs and not houses.
Yeah.
There's a moral of the story there.
No.
All right.
Yeah. If we do find that website as well,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
test this out. I'll pop it in the comments just so that you can have a look.
Yeah, and it does get importance, even if you're trying to rank something not as obvious as a dog, but let's say like personal trainers, then you want to make sure you've got images of personal trainers in the gym, because Google will see all that and it'll go, oh, it's related, it's relevant, and it'll help your SEO.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so this next question was posted by Joe Reed,
Yeah.
and it's a controversial topic because me and Kieran have differing views, so it might end in a fist fight. So going back to Yoast, which is the WordPress SEO plugin, really, really good. If you guys have got WordPress, make sure you download it. He goes, is it better to have all things indexed, for example, product tags, posts, categories, or should some of these be hidden? So within Yoast, you can tick in the back end to say if you don't want Google to index things like tag pages, post pages, category pages, or you can leave them and let Google index them all, which would happen by default. So do you want to explain your
so
view on this?
I think a lot of this comes around the topic of crawl budget. So Google supposedly has a budget of how many pages it can crawl on a website. So it tends to come down more so for bigger sites, and I think that's where my kind of view comes from on this one. But it tends to come down to bigger sites. If you've got a site with 100,000 pages, Google's going to spend quite a lot of time going through and actually crawling that website. Now, if you're trying to push Google to focus on specific pages that you want to optimize for, specific category pages that maybe you're focusing on from one of your main keywords, you maybe don't want them to look at tag pages and other kind of archive pages, search result pages, whatever. So you would no index them pages so that Google can't see them, and they then just focus on the main pages that you want to kind of have optimized. I think from my point of view, I personally would let Google see everything. I think it comes down to the context of how big your site is. So if you have got a site that's 100, 200,000 pages big, I think then we need to start looking at crawl budget and how that's best spent. But for most startups and most small websites, I don't think it needs to be an issue. I think let Google see all of the pages. It's a good way for them to find kind of blog content, especially if you're kind of maybe blocking category pages and stuff, no indexing category pages. It's a good way for Google to find new content, new posts and stuff that are going live. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a counter.
No, I agree with all that. I think when it comes to the average startup or small business website, it's a very small website, you don't need to worry about things like crawl budget because you haven't got tens of thousands of pages. Unless you're an e-commerce startup or, I don't know, something that you launch with a huge site, which is a very, very small amount of cases. So I don't think crawl budget is an issue, and I don't think you should do it because of crawl budget. Just what I've seen a lot, and maybe it's something that needs to be done on a case-by-case basis, but sometimes those horrible post pages, category pages, author pages, all of those pages can actually outrank the pages you want to rank for. Let's say I want to rank for personal trainer rugby, then it might be that my category page is ranking above my actual services page because Google doesn't really know which one to use. Just yet I'm a startup, I haven't got many backlinks to my website, and it can get a little bit confusing. It can show the wrong website. In those cases, there's no benefit to having the category or whatever page it is, the tag page, actually ranking above your services page. Is not helping you at all. It's not helping the user. So I would, in those cases, very much no index those pages because they're just going to bring through they're going to bring through traffic, they're not going to help convert at all.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it from a crawl budget point of view, but if you don't want those pages to rank and they are starting to rank, maybe some of your phrases, then look to no index them because they're just not going to help you long term.
The only thing I'd say to counter that is there may be a reason as to why they're ranking above your main services page. It may be that main service page isn't optimized as well as it could be. Maybe a lot of it comes down to keyword density as well, which is another kind of hole at the topic, but a lot of it comes down to keyword density as well. So maybe there's not enough mentions of that topic or content around that topic on them pages. Maybe the page itself is too short. There's a lot that you can look into. So I think it's a tough one to kind of give a definitive answer on this one, but I think, like Andy said, don't take it based on crawl budget. Maybe do it on a case-by-case basis. And if you've exhausted all other options, then potentially look to no index. I'd say as a last resort, maybe not so in every case, but
Yeah,
case by case basis. If you have a case where that's actually happening, drop it in the comments and we could look and we could basically recommend as to what we think you should do. We'd probably differ on what we recommend, but
and in the comments, mention who won. Who you think won that battle? Okay, right.
the one that has the camera facing the right way, I think, should win the battle. Right, so Sam asked, I have a small team, how often do we need to do SEO health checks?
Okay, so this is a really good question. Whenever we start with any new website, when it comes to SEO, like in Hike, for example, we'll always do like an audit first to make sure your foundations are correct. So looking at things like your website structure, are there any issues that need to be fixed? Are there any immediate opportunities that you're not taking advantage of? Maybe looking at some of your external metrics like your backlinks, your mentions. Maybe some of those are being harmful that you need to deal with, or maybe there's some more opportunities you can make the most out of. But I've completely lost my train of thought. Where was I? Oh, okay, cool. So we think that should be done probably. You don't need to do that constantly, right? Because the idea is you do it and you're fixing the foundations. But those sorts of things can slowly. So you might fix broken links on your website. Now, over a few months, they can start to come back without you knowing, and that's something that a health check or an audit would fix or would identify. So what I would do is I would do a health check, an in-depth health check once every quarter. So once every 3 months. Yeah. When you start a campaign, do it. Spend a couple of days, make sure it's right. And then for the rest of that, for those 3 months, the rest of that quarter, then you can be doing proactive stuff. Building out more pages, creating better content. Working with PR to get more backlinks. And then the time the next quarter rolls along, go, okay, but it's going to take stock. First couple of days, let's just check, make sure everything's okay. And constantly do that, because you never know what's going to creep up. And it can be easy to forget, but yeah, we strongly recommend that.
The other thing I'd say as well is that there are changes that come out and different recommendations that Google do that change over time. So that quarterly check is always good to do as well if something's changed within that quarter and Google's now saying you should have 3 keywords on each page or whatever they're advising. They're never going to advise that. But it was an example for that point. But so when you're doing that health check, just have a look as well as to what's happening within SEO and what recommendations have come out as well.
Cool.
It's always beneficial.
Okay, so the final one was from Jen Allen. So what's your view on indexing temporary stock pages where the stock continuously changes and so the page may only be live for a week or 2? So say for example, you're a car dealer website, right? Now you get in a stock of a new car.
Yeah.
So you create a new page for it so that someone can see it. And then let's say that they're probably going to sell it within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means in 2 weeks' time, that page or that stock's out of stock, right? That car stock, and they might get another car in, but it's never going to be exactly the same. So they're never going to reuse that product.
Yeah.
What would be our view on indexing, allowing Google to index those pages? I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that you can do here. I think we talked about it earlier in terms of it depends on how long mainly that is going to be live for. If it is going to be live for 2 weeks, then it's probably not worth having it indexed for that period of time. It also depends on the content that you've used for that page. If you've took content from other pages to quickly build it and maybe that content isn't unique on your website, unique to your website or unique within your website, then it's really not worth having that page indexed because you're going to have issues with duplicate content. It's probably not actually going to rank at all anyway because that content is duplicated. Mm-hmm. If, say for instance, you've actually built out quite a unique page, maybe that product itself is unique to you guys, but it's only going to be in sale for a couple of weeks. You could index that page, but at the point that it then sells, redirect that page then back to an internal part of the site. So I think it depends on the sort of volume that you're doing with this as well. So if you're doing it for 1 or 2 products, then you could probably use a redirect in place. But if you're doing it for a couple of thousand products, just have them no indexed.
Yeah, well, what I'd do is I'd agree with Kieran. It's if they're only going to be live for 2 weeks, Google's hardly going to see them to rank them, and you've probably already sold that stock. So there's really no point allowing Google, or you're not going to get any benefit really from allowing Google to index those pages. And also, it's a massive resource if you want to create unique content for something that could be live only a day. Someone could come buy a car the next day, and you've created like 100 words of unique content. Yeah. What was the point? So what I would probably look to do in those situations is find the categories that those products fall into. So let's say it was a Ford Fiesta 1 litre. Eco mode or something, right? You get a lot like that. You don't want to even though you'll get, each car's different, they'll all be roughly in the same kind of category. I'd create like a landing page, Ford Fiesta Eco, and then within there you could list all of the products.
Mhm.
So then it doesn't matter if one is removed and someone goes in and replaces it. So you've got a constant live stream. Now Google's going to see that page, and that's a page that will always be live for you. Even if you've got no stock, you can just say no stock, but have nice content at the top. But if you do have stock, then you've always got a landing page that's frequent that Google can always crawl. So don't allow them to crawl the product pages if they're going to be out of stock soon, but look to see where you can to create really nice category pages, right?
Yeah, just some evergreen content that could last for longer.
Evergreen, great word.
Oh, strong.
Yeah,
Strong
it's-
finish as well.
Strong finish from a terrible start.
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty strong finish.
we've managed to kind of rescue it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you guys reckon? Have we rescued it?
No.
No,
okay, cool. Yeah, apologies for that. Awesome. So we'll be back to normal, hopefully the right way around next Friday.
Well, we might do another AMA if
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
loving it. I think we've had a couple of nice reactions, heart reactions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people are loving this stuff.
Was that when it was facing the window?
Internet's going crazy. So yeah, I mean, if people like it, then great. We'll do it again next week. You can ask any question at all. We want to make sure that we help as much as we can for you guys. So don't be afraid just to ask a question, and we'll answer it.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right.
Awesome.
See you later, guys. Here and give away.
Goodbye. Goodbye all.
Goodbye. Okay, finish.